Magnus Carlsen won the first two tiebreak games, so just needed a draw to retain the title. Let's see what happened in the third tiebreak game. So Carlsen playing with the white pieces and now plays, I think, a clever move when obviously deciding what kind of position you're going to go for, and opening is crucial, and the opening choice determines that. So c4, very good move. You're not committing to d4 yet, you're just waiting to see how black places pieces, and you might not play d4 at all. But after knight c6, Carlsen does go for an open position, but he's played a Marozzi bind. But somehow it's less dangerous for white now that the knight has come to c6. Bishop c5. So Caruana trying to get a sort of different position on the board, or complicate it. Bishop c5 a little bit unusual, but knight c2 I think is a very good choice. Carlsen is making sure that he's just going to block out this bishop with bishop e3. If queen b6, of course, you can't play bishop e3 here because b2 would be available after an exchange. But you can just play queen d2 first, protect the pawn, and then knight c3, and no harm done. So knight f6, and now both players develop very solidly, and I think Carlsen would be pretty pleased with the outcome of the opening. So exchanging off that potentially dangerous bishop. And these kind of Marozzi bind positions where bishops are exchanged, not really very dangerous for white. And Carlsen just developing very harmoniously. But he's still got to be careful. And now Caruana is trying to create complications. He's tempting Carlsen into advancing his kingside pawns, which Carlsen does. And knight g6. So this knight is kind of lurking on the kingside, tempting white into advancing. So for example, if e5, this would not be good, or at least it would give black nice counter chances. The bishop screams across the board, and knight is waiting to come in, whoops, to h4, maybe a queen to h4, and of course there's d6 will open up the position, and this knight will return to play. So not a good idea, but Carlsen of course not tempted into that. So although white has a very nice space advantage, very harmonious pieces, black is also pretty solid here actually. But for the moment, Carlsen just not doing much, just content to improve his position very slightly. So now that bishop matches the bishop on the long diagonal. Looks like black is completely passive here. But in fact, Caruana now finds something to do, and Carlsen has to react. Let's just see when we get to crunch moment in a second. Here is where Caruana is actually threatening to embark on quite a nice plan of playing e5, and then that will enable the knight to come into d4. And black could take the initiative in that position. So here is where Carlsen can't just sit there. Well, he could, if you made a move like king h1, for example, then e5, not so pleasant for white actually. At least black could certainly have a plan. So Carlsen is forced to react and push forward. And I think g4 is actually a good move. So if e5 now, then you advance, boot the knight out of the way, and then you can throw the knight into d5. And this is actually very, very dangerous, threatening knight f6. White is doing very well there. So in this position, instead of e5, Caruana plays queen a5. I think a good move. threatening the knight and also looking at the a pawn sometimes as well. So knight a4. And now Caruana can't see anything better than to come back. Of course, Carlsen could play knight c3 here. G5 would be pushing it a bit, because in that case this knight would be able to come into e5. Nice square. But yeah, I thought Carlsen would simply bring the knight back to c3, but instead he saw a chance to simplify the position. And I thought he might have done this prematurely. Let's see what happens. So after this, basically, this forces exchanges. All the rooks come off. Well, you can understand why Carlsen was tempted by this when he only needs a draw. However, I thought that this might be just cutting and running a bit too early, because, well, after these exchanges, you can see that White's king lacks cover, whereas Black's king still has 4 pawns in front of it. But Carlsen's judgment proved correct. So, I mean, actually, these exchanges are, again, it's pretty much forced what happens here. Black can't take here immediately because there's a check. And you take on f7, and that'll be a draw. So coming back here, Caruana exchanges, takes the knight. Now, if bishop takes, that's actually a mistake, because Black will pick up the a pawn with check. That's important, and that's nice for Black. So instead, Carlsen checks here and takes on 8. And that was a more or less a forced sequence, actually, or that's definitely best play for both sides after Carlsen broke with e5. And the queen returns, and now knight d4. Yeah, when they arrived at this position, I thought, has Carlsen done this prematurely? Has he simplified too quickly? Because if Black can get these pawns rolling on the king side, supported by queen and knight, and maybe potentially loose king, well, could be nasty. But in fact, Carlsen's judgment is absolutely spot on. After f5, he exchanged and put the queen on e3. Now, this might not look like a big deal to you, but actually, this is simply very nice placement of pieces. The bishop controls the light squares. The queen controls these really important dark squares, making it very difficult for Black's queen to enter into position. And in fact, if Black tries to throw these pawns forward, then bishop d5 breaks the communication here. And, well, the king could be in a little bit of trouble. So that's why, actually, Caruana played knight e6. But after this move, now White's pawns start to roll, and the c-pawn just gives White excellent counterplay. So, for example, if knight f4, well, you could drop the bishop here, but actually c5, just ploughing on, is a good way to play the position, because even if Black takes a pawn here, like this, picks up the pawn on a2, in fact, this pawn is so far advanced that White will draw this very easily. So the queen threatens here, centralizes beautifully, and if the pawn can advance here, well, Black certainly has no winning chances at all. So b4 just been played, but things went from, well, I'm going to say bad, because Black is still absolutely fine here, but in trying to play for a win, then Caruana just chucked everything away. Knight g5 is simply a poor move. This pawn is rolling through. And, well, we can see that this knight, these knight meanderings over the last few moves have just not contributed anything to black's position. Black has stood still and this pawn has advanced. And in trying to create counterplay, I'm afraid it's just utterly lost now. Queen c5. Magnus got a new queen, and after queen g4, which just completely shuts out any counterplay, white is a queen up for nothing. So at this point, Caruana decided to throw in the towel, and that was that. 3-0 in the tiebreak for Carlsen. Totally convincing and a real vindication of his strategy in game 12 to just play it very safe, take a draw and head for the tiebreaks, where Carlsen showed that he's really on another level actually. I think what I find impressive is that his judgment of positions in all these games, he showed that he just grasped what was going on far quicker than Caruana, who made either tactical errors or basically I think just misjudged positions. But even in this game, it didn't appear as though too much was going on. But here, crucial moment when e5 would allow Caruana to generate some play. Carlsen realised that, appreciated that, and played g4 later on. Here, could wait, but no, e5. Carlsen judged that this endgame was actually fine for him and was a decent way to play the position. So emphatic from Magnus Carlsen. I hope you've enjoyed my coverage over the last few weeks. Do check out the whole World Championship playlist. You'll find the link above there. If you're not a subscriber already, then do click on the button down there. Free to subscribe, and click on the bell for instant notifications. If you'd like to support the channel, then there's PayPal buttons up there. You'll find the link. And do check out patreon.com and check out the rewards. And if you'd like some merch from the channel, then you'll see below the video you can get some Magnus t-shirts and mugs, and same with Keep Calm and Caruana as well. We shouldn't forget that Fabiano, apart from the tiebreak, did play an excellent match, and they are, as Magnus admitted after the match, that there's very little to separate them in classical chess. Thanks very much for watching. See you later.